Okay, so in this video we're going to be talking about logarithms. Just to clarify, you are going to need a calculator. Two ones that you could use, so you've got either the A-level one, but I will be showing how to do it on the normal ones as well if you haven't got one of those. But to be honest, they're very similar buttons anyway, so it shouldn't be too difficult. We are going to start from the beginning just because the video that this is intended for, they've not done anything to do with logarithms. So we're literally starting from the beginning. So up the top I've written here, this is the basic thing of what logarithms are. So it has this format. So you've got log and then you've got the little, that's called an A at the moment, but it will be a number or possibly a decimal. So we call that like the base, and then we've got a number here and that's equal to x. Now this is equivalent to this part here, which looks a little bit more familiar. So something to the power of x is equal to n. So these letters are obviously the same ones that would go in the logarithm. Okay, and we're going to use those sorts of skills to be able to go through the examples that I've got written here today. Now logarithms, what they are is the inverse of exponentials. So we have covered exponentials before. I've drawn a little graph as well just to sort of show what I'm talking about. So this one at the top here, that is our exponential graph, so e to the x. If we reflect that in the line y equals x, which is then the inverse, you would get log of x. Okay, so that's just what we're going to be going on to later. Now this one is actually a special log, we call it ln. Okay, we're not going to be going on to that yet, we're just going to literally start from the beginning first and then we'll gradually go on to those ones because ln x is something slightly different. So we're starting with examples 1. So to start off with, we're given the powers but also the answers, and we need to write it as a logarithm instead. So rather than this, we want it to look like something like that. Okay, so what we have is we're going to start off with writing the base number. So this number a is always the same number as the big one here. Okay, again, as I've said before, we call it a base number. So it's going to be log and then 3. Okay, then the number that goes next to it is the 9. So if we look at this here, the n is next to the a, and that's what number we have here, so it would be 9. So for now, just keep looking back to these and then you'll be able to sort of work out quite quickly what the numbers are. Okay, and that's equal to the power that we have there, so it'll be equal to 2. Okay, and that's all they're asking us to do, is just write these as logarithms. So similar to this one, we would have log again. Next to it, the number underneath is the same as the big number here, so 2. And next to it is the answer that we have there, so 1, 2, 8. Okay, and that's equal to the power, which is 7. Okay, and for the last one, very similar, so log, we would have 64 there because it's 64 here. Then we would have the 8 because that's the answer. Okay, and then the power is on the end. Now for now, just keep leaving it as fractions unless they've obviously got decimals in the question. Okay, but all this is sort of telling us is if 3, work out what the power of 3 would be so that it gives you an answer of 9. Okay, so similar to EG2, I'm just going to scroll up a tiny bit. So EG2 is we're doing the reverse of that. So again, we're going to start off with this number here is going to be the base number. Okay, the number that is equal to, that is your power. So it's going to be a 4, and that's equal to 81. Now you can check that 3 to the power of 4 and make sure it's 81. Okay, that's a quick way of working out whether you're doing the right thing. Okay, and if not, obviously you can probably work out that you've got the numbers in the wrong place. Okay, and then for the next one, same thing. So the number that's here, that's our base number, so that's going to go there. The power is the number that's equal to, so minus 3, and that's equal to 1/8, which is true. 2 to the power of minus 3 does give you 1/8. Okay, so now those are sort of the basic bits. We're now going to move on to actually working their powers out, okay, or the answers out to these logarithms. So this one, EG3, is saying that we can't use a calculator, so we're not going to. So what I'm going to do is show you how to sort of think about it in your brain to then be able to work out the answer. So we obviously don't know what the answer is here, that's the whole point. Okay, but we can rewrite this as 3 to the power of something. So I'm just going to call it x because obviously we don't know what that is yet. Okay, but that will be our answer. This is our x. Okay, so 3 to the power of something is equal to 81. So in your brain, you've just got to think how many times you need to multiply 3 by itself so that you get 81. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times another 3 is 27. 27 times another 3 is 81. So 4 lots of 3s give you 81. So this must be 4. Okay? And you just do the same thing for all of them. Now they do sometimes get a little bit harder. So I would say the next one, B, is quite, I shouldn't say hard, it's just a bit awkward. So same thing, I'm going to do like what I did for EG2. So I'm going to start off with writing it 4 to the power of something is equal to 0.5. Now I am actually going to write that as a half just to help me out a little bit. Okay, so we need to think what power does 4 have to be so that it gives us a fraction of a half. Now because it's a fraction, that's telling me straight away that x is going to be negative. Okay, but if it was -1, if I do this in a little bubble, if it was 4 to the -1, that would give me 1/4. So that's too small, okay, because we want a 2 on the bottom, we don't want a 4. So that tells me, well, if I square root that 4, that would give me 2, which means that it is negative, but it's going to have to be negative a half. Okay, so this is just coming back to remembering that if you've got a power of a half, that means you've got to square root it. Okay, so this answer is going to be -1/2. Okay, now you can write it as -0.5 if you want to, that's your decision. Okay, so for C, again, similar idea, so 0.5 to the power of something is equal to 4. Now again, I don't particularly like it as a decimal, I like fractions just because when we're doing negative powers, it's much easier for me to see it. Okay, so if it was a power of -1, so let's say half to the power of -1. Now the minus means that it's the reciprocal of it, so reciprocal of a half would give us 2. Now that's too small, but if we think 2 times by 2, so 2 squared, that does give us 4. So that means that the power must be -2. Okay, minus from there because doing -1 gave us 2, but because we wanted 4, if we do squared on that 2, we would then get 4. Okay, and then the last one, this one's quite a nice one. Again, a to the power of something gives us a to the power of 5. Now, we call these both base numbers, as I said before. Now, because they're both a, that means that the tops will also need to be the same, so x would just have to be 5. Okay, that's quite a nice one. And the final one, EG4. Now this one you will need your calculator. I'm going to start off with a normal one, so one that you would have used at GCSE. I will show you for the EG4B how to do it on the scientific one for the A-level. So if you look at your calculator, there are lots of buttons, surprisingly. A lot of them you have used before, but there is one that you haven't, which is this one here. Okay, so the log, and it's got 2 little squares. Now, if we click onto that, we would get log and then the 2 spaces, which we have. If we look at our EGA, we've got the space then for the 3 and the 40. So all I do is change that to a 3, click to the right, and then 40, and then click equals. And it'll do the answer straight away for you. Now the question says we need 3 decimal places, so I'm going to stop there. But the 7 after would round that up to an 8. So it's going to be 3.358. Okay, as easy as that. So for B, I'm going to do it on here. So similar thing, so before the button was there on the A-level one, it's here, but again, you just click it, nice and easy. Now this E here, you need to look for the button. So for mine, it's on this part here, but I do need to click shift first and then put an E there. Now, if you just want E on its own, you've got to give it a power of 1, okay? I know that it hasn't written a 1 in the question, but you've just got to remember if you just want that, then you just write a little 1 there. Okay, and then we click to the right and then write 8 and equals, and again, it will tell you the answer straight away. So that's going to give us 2.079. Okay, I'm going to remain on this one just because it's easier. So for the last one, C, so log button, we've got a base of 10, click to the right and we've got a number of 75, click equals and we get this. 1.875. Now what this is saying is, if we just use the last example, this is what power 10 would have to have so that it would give you 75, okay? So if you did 10 to the power of this whole decimal, so 1.875061263, it should give you 75. Now I'm not sure if there is any other decimal places. Let's have a go. 10 to the power of answer. No, there you go. Exactly 75. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So make sure you practice as many of those as you can. Okay, but those are the basics of logarithms.